All right, we're gonna make a bowl today. This is for Kate. I don't know if Kate's in. Kate was in yesterday and was gonna start making bowls. So we're gonna start out, you gotta have a way to sharpen your bowl gouge. You can do it by hand, but it's much easier if you have a jig. And you can find that, there's YouTube videos on making that jig. Somebody will put in the chat what that is close to. I can't remember the brand. All right, so that's the bowl gouge. Definitely want to use a bowl gouge. I'm starting out with a 1/2 inch. And this 1/2 inch, if I go and measure it, I call it a 1/2 inch, but the diameter of the biggest part is 1/2 inch. The actual opening is 3/8. So if you're in the US, this is a 3/8 bowl gouge. If you're in the UK, it's a 1/2 inch. I never know what to call it, so I call it a 1/2 inch, but it's the middle one. I have a 1/4 inch, 3/8, and a 1/2 inch, or 3/8, 1/2 inch, and 5/8. It's too confusing. It's the middle one. So what I did, the only thing I have done is I drilled a 5/16 hole in this block, and I'm using my screw chuck to start. That's probably the easiest way to start a bowl. You can do it between centers. It's just a little bit harder to line it up. And then I like to use my wrench to get a really good, get it really nice and tight and flat. So that's not going anywhere. Okay. Then I am going to put my live center and I think I should probably slow this down. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go to 900 to start out. I'm not going all the way down to 500. All right. And I'm actually going to make it round first. Also, if you're just starting out, absolutely don't work without a face shield. I like this one because it has the chin protector and the head protector. Definitely use a face shield. Don't try to not do it. You are not fast enough to get out of the way. Okay, face shield on. Let's go. Man, this thing is flying apart. So you can see where I'm hitting the grain on the end. One side it's chipping it out, and the other side it's cutting it. So I'm gonna change and cut from the side instead of from the end. Some wood you can get away with that. This one is not one of them. So along with that, I am not using, I'm going to put these away. I'm not using, well, I might use that one. My skew. Or those. Just using my bowl gouge, and maybe to put a 10 in, I'll use the parting tool. But mostly bowl gouge for this project. You can see how much better that works using going in from the side than from the end. And each time I can move a little bit closer. All right, and you're gonna think you want to wear gloves because those pieces of wood fly off there, but don't. Getting a splinter is much better than losing fingers, so don't worry about it. And all that wood flying off, none of them stuck in, so we're good. All right, we've got Junior is in, Doctor is in, Michael, JP Woodwork is in. Hey, JP. Subscribe to JP Woodwork. He does some great videos. All right, now the way that we did this, since I used my screw chuck, this is going to be the top of the bowl. This is going to be the bottom of the bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 10 in on there so I can put this in the chuck. And I might do some shaping. Usually with cedar, I like to do these canister style with the flat sides, but I'm gonna actually round this one. And we're gonna speed up now. Now that I got it round, I'm gonna go up to 1400 RPM. And I'm going kind of fast because I only have an hour and half of it is done. So we may have to finish this tomorrow. We'll see. So unlike spindle turning, and the spindle tools. Bolt turning's a lot different, but kind of the same. But how you attack, like going uphill, downhill makes a difference. I am not that much of an expert at it, so find somebody that you trust that knows all of those secrets and terminology. I am just a hobby wood turner. Shaving on the lens. All right, that was a little bit of shear scrape. Just following that edge. I'm holding that tool very, very close to almost closed and very upright, and just kind of slicing the wood off, and you can see the difference. This one's very rough, and this is very smooth already. Not quite smooth enough. Got some tear out here. So we're going to do that again. I'm only going to use this tool. I was going to use the parting tool to get my tenon, but that looks pretty good. So we're going to just use that. I hope my tenon isn't too small. I don't think it is, but well, if it is, we'll make another one. All right, who else we got? Outside from tailstock to headstock. Yeah, okay, that's what I was doing, because otherwise it'll bust out that grain. And then inside headstock to tailstock. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good information. Plywood is in. Junior's in. Enzo, thanks for stopping in. Rob. DT is in. Myrocraft is in. Thanks, everyone. got our basic shape of our bowl. So I'm ready to turn it around. I don't like to do a lot of sanding. This is not a cut, by the way. It's a red pen from work. I don't like to do a lot of sanding because if this ends up to wobble a little bit when I turn it around, then I have to redo it and sand it and everything. So I'm going to take it off. Another thing I will do is I don't unscrew it right away, because if I did make that tenon too small, I need to put it back in the chuck. So turn that around. I think we'll be all right. I have a template that I use for making sure my tenon is correct, but it's in the basement and I don't want to go get it. Yeah, we're good. All right, and there is a tiny bit of wobble there, so I'm just going to recut that surface. I'm eating a little bit of my lunch while I walked away. If anybody else is eating lunch or dinner or breakfast, what are you having? Put in the chat where you're from and what you had for your latest meal. I'm having some sausage and potatoes with some American cheese melted on it. One of my favorites. Yeah, for some reason this chuck is backwards. I don't know why. It throws me off every time, but it works and I've gotten used to it. All right, I'm just gonna go over the outside and then start working on the inside. All right, so JP gave a great description of how to go either this direction or that direction. But when you're shear scraping, you can do either one. You can go either direction. I'm going to do a little bit of sanding. Bear with me while I get my sander set up. Let's start out with 80 grit. right, that's good enough. You can see I just took away those cut lines. All right, and this is just a little guy. It's probably about 6 inches maybe at the widest point. All right, I'm gonna take off my live center. Who else is in? Got JP is in the UK, eating a sandwich. Myocraft is in the Ukraine. My mouse here. European. Juanita, no breakfast from Mexico. You better eat some protein. Junior's gonna eat some Mimi Tallies. I don't know what that is. Takis, yeah, okay. Junior's from California. Big Dog is in. All right. Crystal is in. Thanks for coming in, everybody. Love a good crowd. Makes it go better. All right, we got 17 minutes, plenty of time. I'm actually going to. No, I'm not going to speed up. We'll leave it there. So, hogging out the middle, I've seen where people will drill. You can start from the inside out. You can start from the outside in. You're really just removing material. And I like to put a good finish on it, but when it comes to just quickly getting rid of material, I feel like it doesn't really matter how you do it. It just needs to come out. So I like to work from the outside in. Sometimes if you work down like this, you're pushing against the chuck so the wood won't fly out. If you're going to the side, it might, if you're being too aggressive. This is kind of small, so it really doesn't matter. However, I will say at some point I leave the center, finish the sides, and then take the center out. Yeah, exactly right, JP. I like to leave some mass in the center. Otherwise, it gets to vibrating, gets loud. You don't get a good cut. So also, I'm going to go straight in. I'm not going to follow that contour just because of time. So I am about, oh, pretty good. Another 1/2 inch and we'll be good. And this is cedar, so it is cutting very fast. It's basically pine. Almost there. Also, while I'm cutting, since the tool is here, I'm looking at this side. I can't see what's going on here, but I can see it over there. Let's check our depth. That is perfect. We're not going to go any deeper. Now I'm just going to smooth out the center. All right. Now, I will say this. I am not a believer in having a perfect inside. I like to leave it a little bit rough. It's just not worth, nobody sees the inside like they do the outside. We'll do a little bit of sanding, but not too much. All right, now here's where you would put your finish on. I'm not going to do that because I am running out of time. So I'm going to show you how I take the bottom tenon off. I think that's more important at this point. So I'm going to get my live center back, my end stock. I'm going to take off this live center. And I'm going to put on the cone live center, and you will see why in a minute. All right, then I'm going to take this off. There's no way to hold this on the chuck. This one I might be able to, but with that crack in it, it'll just split out. So what I'm going to do is I have this block. I'm going to make sure this fits in there. I'm going to put this in the chuck. Ratco is in, Willie's in, Shaylin is in. I was hoping Kate would come in, but it's all right. We'll leave the video up. Now, along with that, kind of a jam chuck, modified jam chuck. Get this better. I'm going to use, I have this piece of, it's just like rubber sheeting. Put that in there. And put that big cone center. And I saved the end. I didn't cut that off. I saved it so I have that center point. Now I know where my center is. Always know where you're centered. Put that in, not terribly tight. I'm going to slow way down. Now I'm going to slow down to 500 all the way. This is a 5-speed lathe, not electronic controlled, manual, 5-speed mechanical. All right. And we are going to cut that off. It's wobbling a little bit, but that's all right because we're just cutting the bottom. You just want to go slow. Nothing fast at this point. And I am pushing in this way because there's not a whole lot of holding this. Not a whole lot holding this piece of cedar in there. Also, I'm not going to redo this edge because it is wobbling, but this is concave. So it's going to sit flat because I did that edge when it was round. And I'm just going to continue to gnaw away at that stump. Okay, now, this is the first time we're going to change tools, but if you are just starting, I recommend stopping now. That thing will just break off. You do a little bit of sanding. If you want to try something and you're not making this for anybody, switch to your spindle gouge, and we're going to cut in a little bit and then cut it off while it's turning. And I'm going to hold this bevel against the bottom and just push into it with one hand, and my other hand is on the power button. All right. Kind of got it wedged in my chest in this hand. You see that? It stopped moving and I kept pressure, and now that is separated and there's very little on the inside. I almost don't even need to touch it. And then usually in the video, I'll flick it just like that. Take this off. Inside's done, outside's done. Sits flat. And then you can, and you have no evidence. I put my sander on here, sand that bottom a little bit, get it smooth. No evidence of how you held this piece. And there's a little bowl. This one I'll probably spray with some polyurethane since I can't put it back. I could put it on this way, I guess, and do it, but we'll just do a little bit more hand sanding and then spray it with some polyurethane or something. I don't know. I got some cracks in it, so it might just be a trinket holder. It is cedar, so it smells good. Yeah, it smells like a pencil. But there you go. There's a bowl, start to finish. And I only used 2 tools. You really could definitely only use 1. You don't even need to use 2. All right, guys, I got ahead. It's the end of my lunchtime. I got to go back to work. I am an engineer, and there's engineering to be done. So thanks, everyone, for stopping in. Jeffrey's in. Mohanda is in. Red, White, Blue Land is in. Thanks, everyone, for coming in. Check out the channel, all the stuff that we make. We make all kinds of stuff all the time, not just lathe work. But yeah, definitely subscribe, like, all that good stuff, comment. Love to have everyone in here. And just remember, you are loved, you have value, and you have purpose. God bless.